Ever find it hard to attract leads in the crowded coaching landscape? This is a common challenge that coaches face in building a coaching business. Despite the online coaching market boasting an impressive value of over $11 billion industry, it's a surprising note to note that typical coach's income is just around $58,000 a year. The dream of hitting that six-figure milestone remains elusive for many. If you're looking to reach the next level of sales and earning in your career coaching business, then today's show on how to scale your coaching business as a career coach is for you. Hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate show, where we're all about helping you stand out, get hired, and earn more. Comment to let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you're a coach, share with us what's your niche. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan, LinkedIn top voice, LinkedIn learning instructor, and founder of My Marketability, where I help you differentiate your brand, grow your network, and communicate with confidence to generate more opportunities. Recently, I was honored to be recognized as Canada's top 80 creators on LinkedIn and Canada's top personal branding expert on LinkedIn. I had no idea I was ranked number 1 last year and number 2 this year. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. If we're not connected yet, make sure to follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. All right, let's check in the comments to see who is here. Hello, Anari. Hello, Ritu. I'll have some fellow career coaches here. Hello. Hi, Jennifer. All right, amazing, amazing. All right, so today's session is focused on uncovering the secrets of scaling your career in the career coaching industry and running a sustainable 6- and 7-figure career coaching business. With insights from my brilliant guest, Daniel Botero, who runs a successful 7-figure business as the founder of Opni, that specializes in helping international STEM students land their dream jobs. Daniel is also a business coach for career coaches, host of a top global 1% podcast called How to Get a Job, and a best-selling author. Type in #GoDaniel. He's already backstage. So I met Daniel less than a month ago in Orlando, Florida, over dinner and our poolside chat conversation. We became fast friends and decided to partner up as we share a common mission and passion for elevating the career coaching industry and helping our fellow career coaches rise. In fact, he's coming to my business mastermind in Mexico next year, where we're bringing together the best in the industry to share, learn, and grow together. I'm so inspired and impressed by Daniel's journey of how he moved from Colombia to the US when he was 8 years old with his mom with 2 suitcases and $2,000. When he graduated from college, he landed multiple job offers at Fortune 500 companies and joined PepsiCo, where he had 3 promotions in 6 years. And now he runs a successful $1 million business with a team of over 30 employees and coaches. I am super pumped to have Daniel on the show today to share our business growth journey and insights with you all. This is my first time having a guest to talk about growing a business on my show. So type in a +1 if you're excited. All right, so tune in as we demystify the strategies that can propel you to the top tiers of the coaching industry, ensuring that you don't just survive, but genuinely thrive. Let's welcome Daniel to the show.
Hey, Diana, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be doing this. We talked about this so much, and I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. Oh my goodness. We got connected 3 years ago, but finally just a month ago that we finally got to meet in person and we're able to take our friendship to the next level because we got to hang out for a couple of days here.
No, yeah, it's super exciting. And it's so interesting how when you meet someone in person, even though I've been referred to speak to you by so many people. I can't even count the amount of people. And then when we did finally meet and just started realizing how much we have in common, how we have very similar passion and how we're just such a givers and wanting to just support the community. This workshop makes sense. Everything else we're going to do makes sense. I'm so looking forward to your mastermind event in Cancun in April next year. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to help so many people. And I see we have a lot of fellow coaches that we recognize as well that are saying hi to us or typing a +1 that they're excited. #GoDaniel here. I don't see in the comments here. So I'm going to start off to kick out the question. We're going to ask each other through questions and we're going to ask the audience as well. Feel free to ask us questions today. Today's all about really covering our journey and share with you our best advice of how to really scale and grow your coaching business. So my first question for you, Danielle, is What drove you to become a career coach? Was there a defining moment or experience that solidified this path for you?
I think it happened on accident. I don't know many people that said woke up and said when they were little, hey, I want to be a career coach. But for me, it was more about like I graduated college. I didn't have the best GPA. I graduated at 2.9 GPA, but I still had multiple job offers. But I didn't think because it was me, because I was special. I just thought, hey, I'm in America. I'm living the American dream. I was just naive. And it wasn't until I started seeing all my other friends that were not graduating with jobs, or if they were getting jobs, they were making more money as servers than they were in the job offers that they were getting. And so, and then when I started working at PepsiCo, they have a management training program, which is the job that I ended up taking. And I was sitting in a room with HR, all the directors were there, and they were going over their KPIs. And one of them was management training recruits. And they were looking to recruit 20 of them for the Southeast region. And they were at like 14, and it was like Q4. And they were talking about how this is such a big deal. Like, why can't we find talent? And I'm over here outside of the table. Like, I'm just in the corner in the meeting, but I don't have a seat in the table. Again, naive little Daniel says, hey, I do have a question. How is it that PepsiCo, top Fortune 50 company, you get thousands of applicants. How are you struggling to find 6 more people for a management training program? And they were like, hey, Daniel, it's not the quantity of the applications, it's the quality of the applications. I'm like, it's like, we just need more people like you. And I'm like, well, I know a bunch of people like me. So I said, I'll find them for you. And so I went back on campus, started speaking at all the student organizations that I was involved in, go back to career services, started bringing in my friends. PepsiCo offered a referral bonus. And within 12 months, I had taken over campus recruiting for UCF. I had referred 11 people to the company, where HR literally said, we can't give you referral bonuses anymore. And I thought I was just connecting the bridge. Like naivety, right? Of people need jobs. I know qualified people that need jobs. PepsiCo is looking for people for the leadership department. And I started just speaking, and it just came down to awareness, teaching people how to stand out. And that kind of how it all started. And it came down to understanding that there's miscommunication of what companies are looking for in their candidates, and then what job seekers are looking for, and how do they communicate that. And if you can speak each other's language, there's a whole world of opportunity for you.
Oh, that is so amazing to hear that. And I just love hearing this story, because when I was part of the new grad program, when I graduated, I was also always involved with campus recruitment. I was always there representing, trying to recruit talent as well, the best of the best, involved with screening resumes and interviewing top talent there. So I love that we have that commonality there. Let's move on to the next question here, shall we?
But I have a question for you, right? So with your own success in career coaching, what drives you to help other career coaches build and scale their businesses, right? What deeper purpose or mission behind this choice?
Oh, I love this question. So for some context, I've been in my own business, be 13 years as of January 2024. 13 years in my business, primarily have been as a career coach, been known as helping people pivot their careers, particularly the last few years, helping mid to senior level professionals pivot their careers. And I love what I do. And because I have this huge desire to make a greater impact, that I decided this year to really elevate other career coaches to help them rise. Because in the last several years, I've been getting other fellow coaches asking me like, hey, how have you been able to get LinkedIn top voice? How have you been able to become a LinkedIn learning instructor? How have you been able to get these talks with the UN? And so last year, literally a year ago, when I met with our fellow coach, Tiffany Uman, who you know as well, she came to visit me. And we were at a spa one day, and I was sharing with her my vision that I would love to bring together a group of career coaches where we can just come together, mastermind, to really talk about business, how to also better serve our clients, but also being at a place where we can also relax and dream big, slowing down to speed up there. And so for me, my deeper purpose now, after running this first mastermind in April, I really feel it's my new calling, Daniel. I have goosebumps actually even thinking about this, where I really saw how these coaches were much more confident, that they felt really inspired to take things to that next level. And so the way I see it now is I want to have this ripple effect impact. Through the work that I do, because I already have expertise as a career coach, I can help fellow coaches like how to not only grow the business, but also how to really guide their clients through the career development journey there.
And Diana, like that's so awesome. I know I think that's why I love our conversations. And it's so funny because ever since like we kind of met in Orlando, we weren't meant to meet in Orlando. I was there because I connected with Show. I saw he was coming to Orlando. I had Tiffany and had already connected with her and did a LinkedIn, Instagram live, and then us connected. And I think that's why like we haven't stopped talking since a month ago about sharing that vision of the ripple effect of it. Of like if I spend 1 hour coaching a career coach, and that career coach goes helps 100 job seekers, that creates a bigger ripple effect than if I spend 1 hour prepping a candidate how to get a job, which is nothing wrong. Like this is great. But if I can help a career coach build a bigger business, and the same thing that you're saying, if you can help them build their brand, gain clarity, and grow their business, we can create a bigger effect. And I think that I love that we're both trying to really elevate the career coaching space, and it's what has us collaborating and figuring out how we can help more and more and more.
Totally. And I want to say, because people have been asking me too, is like, how do you decide when to collaborate or partner with someone? I think in this case, we really share that common vision and that passion. But also I see we also have complementary skill sets, meaning that I really see that you have a big team now in your business, and you have really leveraged how to automate, systemize, and operate. And for me, I also bring in the speaking, the branding, the positioning. So I feel it's very complementary of how we can really help coaches rise there. So that's really the common mission. Like when people ask us like the whys is really about this. And that's what gets me so fired up as well. So my next question for you is, could you describe a bit of your business model that you've adopted for your coaching practice? Mm-hmm. How has it evolved over time? And what factors influence its development? And I think this will give audience an insight of how you've really grown your business over the last several years here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, I started like most career coaches start, right? Which is, hey, I'm getting a lot of friends and family asking me for help. There's must be something. And for me, it started as I was doing campus recruiting for PepsiCo, and I was speaking on how to get a job at PepsiCo. And what happens is that I realized that if I have an audience of 100 people, not everyone's going to be a good fit for the supply chain role or the management training program that I was essentially there for recruiting. Because just because I was there with PepsiCo doesn't mean that I was recruiting for marketing or finance or every other role in the company. I was really only there for 2 roles. It was like more like supply chain and then leadership development / sales management. And I started like thinking of like, hey, can this advice also help other people get jobs? And so that's where it evolved to me just speaking on how to get a job, because like what I found is that 80% of how to get a job, it's kind of the same, whether it's a new grad, a mid-career professional, and then 20%, there's nuances and differences. But long story short, I started thinking I want to just be a public speaker and just go on universities and get paid to speak. So I quit my job at PepsiCo, quickly realized that like, hey, universities weren't willing to pay me. All those same universities that were willing to go have me speak for free. Now that I don't have PepsiCo as my job, that kind of went away. And when I'm asking them for money, they're like, no, you used to do it for free and you used to work at PepsiCo. And so I then was like, okay, I need to rethink about this. I then wrote a book. That book actually became a bestseller on Amazon on like 3 categories. And what I realized is like, to me, I'm always thinking about how do I increase the success level? Like, how do I increase how do I impact more people? And what I realized is this: when I was speaking, people will be for 1 hour, be super motivated, super pumped. But then a week later, less than 5% of them were actually executing it, right? Like it's like this bump in motivation, but no execution. Then when I wrote the book, I wrote the book thinking of like, when I go continue to speak, I can use the book to monetize it. But more than anything, now they have a game plan to go execute. And I would calculate that now with the book, 20% of people can actually do it. But then I started saying, like, how do I flip that? How do I get 80, 90, 95% of my clients to actually land their dream job, right? And so when I continue to optimize, and that same level of thinking continues to drive my thoughts today. How do I continue to increase it to go from 90% success rate to 95 to 99? And so what I realized that for you to be successful in reaching a goal, whether it's getting a job or building a career coaching business, you need 3 things. You need the right strategy. And I think a lot of the career coaches, we all have very similar strategies. Like I've interviewed so many of them for my podcast, right? 2, you need accountability, and 3, community. And so that led me to build a business model that I have now, where every single every single job seeker that comes into the program gets assigned to one of my career coaches. I personally don't do any more one-on-one, right? They get assigned to one of our career coaches. Those career coaches are those responsible to customize the strategy to their particular situation, their timeline, right? Help them apply for the right jobs based on their experience and help them achieve their goals and aspirations that they set for themselves. Second part is accountability. A lot of times it's not a lack of knowledge. Like we can YouTube a lot of it. Like, let's be honest, guys, there's a lot of things that we can YouTube. There's no secret formula that's not already on the internet, or ChatGPT can't come up with it in 30 seconds. But what most of us miss is accountability in ourselves, right? Like we never miss a doctor's appointment, but there's plenty of examples when we put things in our calendars that we're going to go do this and we never do it. So what we do in our program is that we have our coaches check up on the execution on a weekly basis. And it doesn't have to be a Zoom call. It could just be a Slack message, an email, a voice note, right? A Loom video. And then we want to check execution. And the third is community. And when you add community to it, because job searching can be very lonely, it really makes it to be more sticky and increase the execution. And so to me, that's what the business model is. And for all of you career coaches listening to this, I'm like, oh, Daniel, well, you have a team where you can scale this. But I want you guys to think about it like this. You are a doctor, right? And when you go to a doctor's office to get your yearly checkup and you're there for an hour, you only speak to the doctor for 5 minutes, right? You go in, you talk to the receptionist checks your insurance card, then has you wait there for 5 minutes. Then you get called by a nurse or a physician assistant. You get put on a scale. They put you in a little room. They check your pressure. They'll ask you questions. They check your blood work. And then they'll be like, the doctor will be with you in a second. Right? The doctor comes in, does the things that the doctor can do, and then it says, okay, Diana, do you have any questions? No, you're healthy. See you next year. Right? And if you think about that as your career coaching as business itself, you can now see more candidates. So in a sense, that's a little bit, and we can go more back and forth, is how do you systemize your career coaching system where you can not trade your time for money, which is the biggest mistake that career coaches are making, and trade your time for value, and then put the right pieces in place so that your clients are getting more results, more accountability, more community. And when they do need you, they still have access to you, but it's not so time consuming on your end.
I love this. So the nugget here, how to trade your time for value over, value over money here.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was it?
It's stop trading your time for money.
For money, yes.
But trade your time for value.
For the value, yes. Because I feel like something that I really learned from you recently is redefining what one-on-one support means, right? One-on-one support doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be over a Zoom call for like 45 minutes or an hour, but that support could be through a voice note, a Loom message, a checking in. That could be also support as well. I have a follow-up question because this is something that was asked in our recent mastermind is, as you start off and then building your team, how did you make that transition of essentially trusting these fellow new coaches coming in to have that similar standard or the methodology? What was your way of ensuring that consistency and the quality there?
It's such a good question. I think that it's better answered by sharing like a story or an example, right? For all of you listening, think about when was the last time you went to a franchise, like a McDonald's, Burger King, a Subway, Olive Garden, or anything like that, right? And did you ever walk in and start thinking, who is the chef? How many years of experience does the chef have? And odds are you don't. Like you trust the brand and you trust that there's going to be an expected result for what you're getting. Like if you go to Olive Garden, you're not going to get the best Italian food in the world, but you get a really good value for what you're paying. You get this consistency so you know what you're getting. Again, the same thing with McDonald's. McDonald's does not have the best burger, but you can be anywhere in the world and get a very predictable experience. And so I think that's the way you, as a career coach, you should start thinking about your business. The way I look at it when I'm hiring, I'm like, these individuals that I'm hiring don't have the same, 10 plus years of career coaching experience that I do, right? And they don't need to. They just need to be able to follow the standard operating procedures. They need to be able to go through the courses, and they're going to be able to teach them 80% plus of what they need to learn. So let me kind of like break this down in a career coaching example. Let's say you work with a candidate, a job seeker, and they have 100 questions in the whole time you guys work with them. Right now, if you're trading your time for money, you probably have 6 calls and you're answering, right, like 6 to 10 questions a call. Now, 80% of the job search, what I found is the same for everyone, right? They're going to need a resume. They need to have their LinkedIn. They're going to have to get ready for interviewing. They should know salary negotiation. They should network, the same. So what we do in our program is that we teach that 80% through videos that I pre-recorded, through workbooks, through other resources, examples, templates, everything you can think of. Now, so out of 100 questions, 80 are going to be delivered through outside resources that are already done. You do it once and it's great. Now there's 20% left, or 20 questions left. The career coach, that's their main job is accountability, will then answer 80% of those 20 questions. So 16, because again, you're going to see the same questions come over again. If you've been a career coach for more than a year, you already see the questions coming over and over again. And then you're going to have 4 questions that are left that only Daniel can answer because of my experience and everything that I've been to. And then I have office hours multiple times a week. And then my clients come to my office hours and then I answer. So that's how you answer all 100 questions without doing any one-on-one. Now, do I ever have to do one-on-one? Absolutely. Once in a while, probably once every other week, I have to do a one-on-one with a client because no one else in our team can feel like they can support that client to the best of our ability. And so I think that's, to answer your question, that's kind of how I think about it.
I really like that analogy. Was there any fear in terms of, because that's in terms of the mindset piece of overcoming like that, or trusting your team as well? Like the advice you have for people, like that trust piece as well.
Yeah, but that's where you have to continue to ask. So what we call the net promoter score. So we send random message, like emails and messages, and we check for quality assurance. And I check up on clients randomly. I'm like, hey, how is it going working with Laura? How is it going working with Salome? Or we send that. And so we have to track the back end, just like McDonald's does random surveys, so you have to track the quality. And what we found is that actually our clients get more support, get more one-on-one, are getting better results because of that accountability that I can't provide if I was doing it. Like, I just don't have the time.
Yeah. That's fantastic advice. I love that. Thank you. And I see like for folks who are already chiming in as well, I just want to share a little bit, I guess, my business model, because I know it's a little different as well for those who are curious. Like the way I've really established my business over the last decade of building my business has been, I actually started off as a speaker first. I was a speaker where I really went around to talk to, at universities, at professional associations. Pretty much like every week I was giving a talk, and that's how I really build my leads in terms of building my brand and reputation with speaking. I knew that every time I spoke in front of 100 people, I would get clients there. So that's how I started off. And that during that time when I first started my business, I was also working at Google as a recruiter. So that was also part of us getting me clients, because I would reject a lot more people than accepting. And so people who I rejected, some of them became my own clients there. And how it's evolved over the years for me is actually I have evolved in serving the different type of audience. I started off serving more new grad clients when I was working with giving talks at universities. And essentially the last 5 years or so, I really moved into serving a more mid to senior level C-suite clients. And for me, the reason why I decided to make that transition, that pivot, was I really enjoy solving more complex challenges and problems. I really like helping clients really make that transition to a different industry, different type of role, next level role. I really, really enjoy that. I find it's more complex, and it was less about, hey, like, review my resume, give me the feedback, but it was more strategy and planning. So that's why I really enjoy making that transition over the years there. And what I've done now, like where I am now this year, I have actually scaled down in terms of my coaching, because I want to do more speaking, training, really delivering at larger scale as well. And so this year, what I have done, part of my business model now in terms of how I've been making money, it's not only through coaching, but also through course creation. So this year, like creating 10 courses for LinkedIn Learning. And so that's part of like a royalty earning type of model there. And then also through my mastermind groups as well. And the other big thing that I've been doing more now is really speaking in organizations, not just one time, but creating speaking packages. So selling 3 to 5 to, or even like 1 year contracts of inviting me back to speak. So there is that recurring revenue model as well. And what's been interesting, my next level now, as I plan to move and grow, wanting to serve more people, because I have a training design background, like I have so much training that I delivered and created over the years. I met a fellow coach recently who is a licensing expert. So I've invested in being part of her program and really learning how to license my training. right? Like with 10 courses I'm creating for LinkedIn or more courses I'm creating for these Fortune 500 organizations, how do I really license that training so that it's also the reoccurring revenue model there? So I would say what I've learned over the years, what's interesting for me is I would say I've gone more broader now, like this year, of diversifying from going niche or really specializing in career pivot and transitions to this year now really broadening my skill set as a speaker and talking about broader range of topics and also serving coaches there.
I love it. Diana, so question for you then.
Yeah.
What was the pivotal moment or catalyst that sparked the growth phase in your coaching business?
Oh, the pivotal moment. I think there's two. I would say 2011 to 2014, like this is what I call like that building phase when you're first starting out, right? And then between 2015 to 2020, that was when I had my two kids. I call that was my systemizing, sustaining phase. And then after 2020 is what I call my comeback year, scaling a year there. So there are a few pivotal moments. Like one was back in that 2013 year, that's when I actually started hiring people to help me in my business to grow. So being more efficient, but also where I really did more speaking, meaning like I was very strategic in going around different universities. I called it my own TED Talks, where in the fall, I would go around to like a dozen universities speaking in front of like 300 to 500 people at a time. So I was able to quickly grow like my list, my audience size to really grow my business that way. Like that was the first few years, where first 3 years I was doubling my business year over year. And then in the 2015 to 2020 year, that was when I had kids. And I knew that I really wanted to take a step back as well, meaning I didn't want to work crazy hours anymore. So that's where I really invested more in systems and automation and all that. And I purposely slowed down in terms of taking on like one-on-one coaching clients as well. But I also hired a fellow coach to take on the clients while I was like on that leave. 2020, this was when I would say that was a year when things also like took off in terms of doubling my business year over year again, was when I started doing more webinars. So I started doing more webinars, doing live streams, getting onto LinkedIn Get Hired Live. I was interviewed on their show 3 times within the last 2 years. And that took my business global from serving a more Canadian and US market audience to then serving a more global audience in Europe, in Africa, and India, Asia, because of my brand building that presence on LinkedIn and getting onto these podcasts and live stream shows to help me grow that reach and exposure there.
Love it. That's so awesome. I love how like you've been able to maintain this for such a long time and continue to grow and reinvent yourself and finding really great ways to just expand your influence.
Yeah, one of my philosophy for those like the coaches here, the advice here, I would say is constantly evolving and growing,
Yeah.
right? Even though you may be doing the same thing as a career coach, right? You may be in the same niche. Find a way where you can consistently innovate to grow. So, for example, whether it's partnering, like I partner with other coaches, where I had a fellow resume writer, Kamar Toffolo, who you know as well. She and I combined our services together, where I offered one-on-one coaching plus the resume writing, so that elevated the value of the service there.
Yeah.
Right. So think of ways of how you can continually add value and to grow or do things differently. For me, I have a high value for variety, meaning I like to deliver different types of training to help people. So creating new resources, new trainings to add value to the clients there.
Love it.
So my question for you, Daniel, is reflecting on your journey, what was one major obstacle or challenge you've encountered? How did you navigate it and what did it teach you?
So actually, I think I've gone through 3 main challenges as a career coach. And I thought that it was only me who was dealing with those challenges. And it's funny because like I was mentioning, as I've interviewed hundreds of career coaches and I get to learn what their challenges are, I feel like most career coaches are either going through these challenges or went through these challenges, or you will go through these challenges. So I think if I think about the start, right? When I started as a career coach, I'm full-time as a career coach. I'm no longer making my 6-figure salary at PepsiCo. My first challenge is how to monetize and get consistent at my business, right? I didn't know where my next client was going to come from, right? I was posting on LinkedIn, wrote a book, started a podcast. I was trying to go on Instagram, started TikToking, go on Facebook, and I was all over the place. And I was just trying to figure out a way to get clients. And and I would get clients here and there, but it was very, very spotty, right? And I think that's the first challenge. Like the first challenge is like, okay, how do I get a consistent client flow? And to answer that question, I think I hired a business coach. I think one thing me and you have in common is we continue to invest in ourselves. And what better way to solve a problem that I have than to learn from someone who's done it? So I hired a business coach. And the first thing the business coach told me was like, hey, Daniel, stop focusing on everything. You're just you by yourself. At this time, Diana, I didn't have any VAs. I didn't have a team. It was just me, right? I couldn't afford it. And he goes, stop doing everything. What's the number one thing you're going to focus on that has gotten you the most clients so far? I said LinkedIn. So then I doubled down on LinkedIn. I stopped doing Instagram. I stopped doing TikTok. I stopped doing Facebook. I used a podcast for LinkedIn, but it was all LinkedIn. What's going to happen and if you need help getting clients on LinkedIn, I have a free course you go to my profile, free LinkedIn course for career coaches, how to get clients utilizing LinkedIn. Once you get clients, that's the first problem. What's going to happen is going to be the second problem that I encounter, and most career coaches encounter too, right? Is you start getting clients, but you don't have a scalable product. So you go back to the problem, or you're trading your time for money, right? And then I know you were saying that in the comments, like, yes, like that's the next logical problem. You now have a flood. I wouldn't say a flood. You have a consistent lead flow. You build the brand. You have testimonials. You have the marketing. All that's great. But now your calendar is packed with either sales calls or client calls. And that was the second problem. So for me, it was building the systems and everything that I shared earlier today. The third problem is then figuring out, hey, do I want this business to be Daniel Botero, or I want this business to be bigger than me? All right. And so I chose the latter, and I chose, okay, I want the company I want people to work with Opni, not because of Daniel Botero, but for Opni, the brand. And so it's how to scale that is no longer me. So that I rebranded from Mastering College to Career, and I started having other people being the face of the company as well. So if you go to Instagram, you don't see me as often, and you start seeing that my website is no longer my face. And so that's where I'm at now, Diana, where I'm more focused on building the brand than building my personal brand. But I can only do that because I already have a really good reputation, a lot of testimonials, and the social proof is there.
I love that you're talking about this, because I think this is a great thing for us, for coaches here, to really think about, is like, do you want to you be the face of the brand versus the company as the brand as you continue to grow? Like, I would say, as I'm listening to this, for me, because I want to do more speaking and really be known as a speaker, that I really want to actually build myself as a brand versus building the company brand. Like, I really thought about this hard, even though my company name is My Markability. But I would say over the years, because I've been doing more speaking, it's really positioned myself as Diana YK Chan.
Yep.
Versus My Markability. So this is actually an interesting thing to think about, is what is your primary objective? What's your goal? What do you want to do more of as well? And how that would impact in terms of how you grow your team. So I want to share a thought, because I like how you've been thinking, how you build your team. My thought process is that over the last several years, I've had fellow coaches who ask me, like, Diana, can you take me under your wing as a coach in your business?
Yep.
And my thinking is, I rather teach my methodology to fellow coaches and license out my training than having a team of coaches in my business. And I think it's probably, for me, is because the mentality difference of managing a team of people versus me wanting to be a trainer and coach other people.
Yeah. You know, I think that's where there's no right or wrong answer. It's like the same thing of like, is LinkedIn better than Instagram or TikTok? And the answer is just depends on you, right? Like, we have really good friends of ours like Sho and Tiffany who are amazing on Instagram and TikTok, and that's where they get their clients. Now they're still on LinkedIn, but it's not. And the same thing with, do you build your own team or do you want to be the face of it? And I think me and you have chosen different paths, and it's not that I'm wrong and you're right or vice versa.
Yeah.
I think it's like, what are you trying to build? What's your long-term goals? What fits better with your lifestyle? So it's all of that. Like, for me, I am much, much happier if I don't have to create content. Like, I'm much more happier behind the scenes, managing the team, creating culture, going on team retreats. Like, that's what I like to do. We were laughing because the show was like, so you're telling me you don't like content? I'm like, dude, I hate creating reels. Like, my team has to beg me to create reels. Like, dude, if all I could do was create reels all day, that'd be perfect. And so I think that's where having clarity on what you want as a coach and then building
Yeah.
your business, not Diana's business or Daniel's business model and just copy and paste is your
Yeah.
ideal business.
That is such a great insight that I really want to hone in for the audience is what's the business you really want to build? Like on that note, right? Like balancing as being like really the face of a content creator versus coach versus really being the CEO of managing the business,
Yeah.
right? Of really thinking all that. And so that was a good question. I think even like Ritu asked, I know Ritu is in New Zealand, by the way. She's asking the question of like, what are the main social channels to market and build client pipeline? Currently mainly on Instagram, but that seems like being on mercy of the algorithm.
For me, I'm biased. I like LinkedIn, and I think it's maybe because I just kind of figured out how to do this in a repetitive way. So just I'll tell you guys this, like I generate over 150 leads a week from my LinkedIn. And it's just because there's a process involved. And so if you want to check LinkedIn, just check out the free LinkedIn course I have on my profile. Absolutely free. It's for career coaches. But with that being said, if you like that Instagram style reels, I think you should stay there, right? And I think you should look into what Show's doing or Tiffany's doing because they're just really good at that platform. And so to me, it's not that one platform is better than the other. I think you just got to find one and stick with it. And once you build a multiple six-figure business there, then maybe expand to another one. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I've been really growing it on LinkedIn as well. And I mean, studies have shown that LinkedIn does have a more affluent market in
Yeah.
terms of audience there. So I find that that's how where I get majority. I find my clients as well through LinkedIn. So I really double down on that there. Daniel, before we get to next questions here, why don't we share a little bit about what we're up to the next few weeks? We're partnering up to do also more training for our fellow coaches here. I want to share with our coaches of what we're doing in the coming weeks to help you all grow. We're going to be doing a free masterclass, 2 masterclass. Actually, Daniel, why don't you talk about it while I'm looking for the image to share here? Okay, I'm going to do that.
So a lot of what you guys are seeing today is Diana and I talking, and we usually see our texts. I think we text like multiple times a day now. Is how do we elevate career coaching? And this is just my point of view on it. Is when you are looking to buy a house, you use a realtor. Like what percentage of people that buy a house use a realtor? 90% plus. When you're thinking about retirement, you find a financial advisor, and most people have a financial advisor to call on. But what determines what the size of the house you can buy or how big is your retirement, how great is going to be your retirement if it's not your career? And if you flip that question and say, okay, what percentage of job seekers use a career coach? I couldn't find a real accurate number, but I bet it's less than 10%, right? Most job seekers are not using career coaches. And to me, I think that they should. If we are providing a service, at least I know that my clients are getting 29% more than they did if they didn't work with me. There's a value add there of working with a career coach, someone that has your back and can help you do that. So with that being said, Diana and I really want to elevate the career coaching space and really change the dynamics of saying, should I use a career coach or not, to which career coach should I use? And let the job seekers find the best career coach for them based on their niche. For me, if they're not an international STEM student, I can't help them. I'd rather give them to Diana or Maya or Tiffany or Jean if they're a project or product manager, right? Like give them to the right career coach. And so to do that, what Diana and I want to do is kind of continue this conversation that we're having in the live, but make it more interactive and have other career coaches be involved. So to do that, we're going to host, again, a free masterclass for career coaches November 7th and 8th, both at noon EST, both to be about an hour and a half. And the idea is to go deeper into like, what pricing model should I do? Should I, do group coaching one-on-one or hybrid, or dive into lead generation and how to get predictable leads so that I'm not worrying where my income is going to come next week and be able to go live. To us, to be, a little bit honest here, like we wanted to create this LinkedIn Live to give you guys kind of like a trailer of what would it look like to spend more time with us and having more coaches join and have more conversations about it. But Diana, anything that you think I missed that?
Yeah. What I love about and what I want to share with the audience that we see here is today's live is like really get to learn more about our story, like our method. But this masterclass, we're really going to dive deep of the strategies, like how to create a marketing strategy, a content strategy, the really the pros and cons of one-on-one versus group coaching. How do you really price your offers? But also an opportunity, because it's going to be a private class. through Zoom, we're going to be able to see you as well. So we can also really talk with you and answer your questions, chat. That's really different from a live stream like this. So I want to encourage you to sign up here. You can see the QR code right here that says lead gen trainings, free class, or you can also register here. That we also have the link up here to register. It's really meant also for us to bring a closer knit of career coaches together to have a conversation in a private setting versus like a live stream setting there. So make sure to register, or even DM us if you need a link later on as well. You can just DM Daniel and I there. So Daniel, why don't we continue the conversation? Shall we? Let's continue the conversation of questions, answering questions, and we'll answer the audience questions as well there.
Perfect.
Yes. All right. I think you're next, right? The question here? Yeah.
Yep. So the next question that I have for you is, how has networking and collaborating with others, be it mentors, peers, partners, played a role in your business growth?
Oh, I love this question. I mean, you asked me when I met you, right, of being that connector, the relationship queen here. I'm really, really big on nurturing relationships because I'm really big on collaboration over competition. I really live by that guiding principle. And what I mean by that, and this is why you and I are collaborating, is that we know 1 + 1 is not equal to 2. It's more than that, right? When we all help each other out, we're all going to rise, and we're going to also make a greater impact. So for me, I would say the last several years, I've been even more strategic in networking, collaborations, and partnerships. I would be really intentional, really every quarter, looking at who are the people that I want to dive deeper in terms of relationship building with, and really make an effort to connect with them. I have this way of thinking is that, you start off with being virtual through social media posts, to then the DM, you take the DM, and then taking it to the Zoom meeting, and then we take it further through in-person meeting, right? That's the form of deepening the relationship. And to me, it has been really effective. Over the last several years, I've really grown a really strong network of fellow either coaches, mentors, partners globally, not just locally. I think when I first started, I was really local. Now the last several years have been really global there. And what's important, I would say, is that, people always ask me, because network is one of the most popular talks I get asked. People always find it awkward in terms of reaching out. I honestly don't overthink it. I think if you have a genuine mentality that you're interested in others and that you care, start a DM conversation. Let them know that they inspire you, acknowledge what they're doing, start that conversation, ask one question at a time to continue that conversation. And I can tell you just from experience that taking a relationship online to offline makes a huge difference. So, Daniel and I, literally, we just met a month ago, right? Because we spent literally 2 days together, that really made a huge difference in terms of our trust level, and be able to go from having a virtual conversation to in-person, be like, yeah, let's collaborate now together. Let's, come together in Mexico next year and help other coaches. And so you really need to invest in time and energy for that. For me, is there a shortcut? Yes, you could probably accelerated way by being in the room with the right people, right? When you join, let's say, masterminds or training or the right networking groups, you can accelerate the relationship because you're in the room with the right people there, right? Instead of going to one-to-one networking, you're going to one-to-many.
I love that, Dan. I think that is your superpower, because like I mentioned earlier, it's when I would do podcast interviews, I'm like, is there any career coach or anybody you think I should have on the podcast? Your name came up so many times. It wasn't even funny, because you're just a master connector, a master at just genuinely building relationships. And it's because I think of the giver, collaborative mindset that you have. And I think as career coaches, we all should have that mindset. It's not even about competition, because how can we say that we're each other's competition when over 90% of job seekers don't use a career coach? If anything, we should be collaborating. And if we work together to normalize career coaching, we will all have more business than we can even take. We're going to have to bring new people to be career coaches and tell them, because there's so many people that could use our help. And so I love that. I love that you're always networking, you're collaborating. And to add to your point, when you meet someone in person, it's hard to explain, but it is different. I was just in Chicago, and I've been connected with Reno, and me and him have had Zoom calls. To your point, commented on each other's content, led to a DM, led to a Zoom call. And I was in Chicago. I was like, Reno, let's grab dinner. We grabbed dinner for 3 hours, and it makes a world of a difference. And so I do think building those relationships. And if you know you're going to go to the city where that person's located, don't like reach out like, hey, let's go get coffee, let's go get dinner, let's meet up. And it makes a difference. So
Yeah,
Diana,
thank you
you're
very
awesome.
much.
So
I
shout out
want to
to you.
hone in this lesson here is give, give, give before you get. Like
Yes.
when we mind about adding value is genuinely care about others, that you genuinely want to help each other as well to grow. People will feel that in terms of authenticity, like whether you're in it for
Yeah.
like, oh, you just want to get something from them, but what first is whether you really want to help them. So something I've been doing a lot this year is advocating for other coaches, whether it's featuring them on my LinkedIn or recommending other coaches and courses on LinkedIn Learning as well, like really helping other rise that way, but really making the effort to deepen if there are people that you feel like you really click. Like, Tiffany Uman, like I literally just met her a year ago, Danielle. Within a span of a year, we met 4 times, even though we're in different cities. She came to my
That's so awesome.
mastermind. She came to
Yeah.
visit me in Toronto. And then my entire family went to visit her entire family in Montreal this summer. The kids played together. The husbands got to know each other. Like that just took the relationship to a whole new level in a weekend. Right, and supporting one another there. So networking and definitely is key there. I'm going to ask a few more questions that we're going to answer the audience here. So thinking of all the advice that you've received over the years, what's one piece that stands out that has continually served you well?
I don't know, there's so much, but I like, having your own business, being a career coach, and even if you think about the job searching journey, it's up and down. There's roller coasters, it's to me, it's like I either win or I learn. And so that advice has always been like, keep going. The amount of times that I've called my advisor, my mentor, at given different stages of my career, is like, I just want to quit. Like, this is too complicated. This is too hard. It's so much easier to just go work at corporate America and go do this. And every single time I felt like quitting, people were like, don't quit, keep going, keep pushing. And I think the advice I have for any career coach out there is like, if you ever felt like quitting, it's not just you. It's so normal. Keep pushing, keep learning, have a community of people that are in the same journey with you. And that kind of goes to me, like, I think that find 3 people who have done the goal that you want to achieve and learn from them. 3 people that have the same goal than you and build that community. And then 3 people who are trying to achieve the goal that you've already accomplished and help them come up. And if you follow that rule of 3, like I think, and you won't quit, and you're going to help others reach your goal, and others will help you reach your goal.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great advice. I'm going to add on to that as well as that's the next question ties into this is in terms of what's a lesson from growth journey that I want to pass on to other fellow coaches here. Like when I think about me being business now, like it'll be 13 years. It's crazy. I can't believe 13 years in January. I know. You got to really think of it as for the long haul. Like if you're going into this that you just want to make some money, of course, but I think you got to really think the long term of it if you really want to build a sustainable business.
Yeah.
And I think this is why I really evolved over the years. Like when I first started, obviously you're hustling, you're working crazy hours, but now I'm at the stage in my life and business where I also really want to enjoy life as well, where I want to have time for my children. So I don't work crazy hours. Like I'm different from you, Daniel, where I don't get up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning because that's not what I want at this stage of my life. Like I want to have my Mondays and Fridays free. Like I call it my CEO planning and pampering days. So figure out what works for you. Right?
Yep.
Everyone is different. I optimize my schedule every single quarter to see what works for me, what energizes me, what feels good. So that way you can really sustain in the long term and continue to think of ways of how you can add value to your clients, right? You may have an offer that it's been like this for quite some time, but really continue to think of ways of how can you make it better and better. Right? It could be maybe even like I would host, let's say, VIP days for my clients, bringing them together or making connections to other people there. That way they can also help each other out so that you can also have that ripple effect impact there. So always think of ways to experiment, to add value. That's how you really continue to grow in your business there.
Love it.
Yeah. So we have a question in the audience, Danielle. Someone asked, let me just see here. The question here is actually a really good question, was around how do you sell the value of working with you with people who are unemployed individuals who seem to want to help, need the help but don't want to pay? This is a good one. Melissa.
Let me take this one. It's super common. And so I will kind of by preface and say, hey, I arguably work with the hardest job seekers, which is not only college students, It's international college students from mainly from Asia, where the conversion rate is almost impossible. And if I'm able to build a seven-figure business, you can too. And so let me walk you through why is this. To me, is never a price issue, is a value issue. And the way I kind of say is, if you're a job seeker, if I do my job correctly as a career coach, money is an issue today, but not tomorrow. And so the way I've been able to price my program and be super transparent is I charge 5% of first year income with a $1,000 down payment. So if a client gets a $100,000 job, which is extremely common for me, their total fee of working with us is $5,000. Since they paid $1,000 up front, they would pay $4,000 when they get the job, and we can do payment plan. Or they can pay a one-time payment of $2,500, and you'd be surprised how many of them see like, oh, I can save 50%. They'll figure out a way to get the money. So money wasn't really the issue. And so I think, Melissa, what I found out when I first started realizing this is that it's a value issue and you're not selling the value. And because what I see the biggest mistake career coaches are making is they're selling the features, not the benefits. So they're saying, but I will do your resume for you. I will do your LinkedIn for you. I will do 6 one-on-ones, right? And so if you're charging $6,000 for 6 one-on-ones, the client's automatically saying, okay, it's $1,000 an hour. That's a lot. For me, the way I position it and my team does it, right, is we're going to charge you 5% of first year income to help you get a job. We will work with you until you get a job. And if you don't get a job within 90 days of your goal date and you execute our process, we will refund you your money. So we take away all the risk from them. And it's not about time, it's about value. And when you do that, you overcome that the money issue. The majority of the times, it's never going to be 100%.
Yeah. I'm going to add in, I liked how you shared yours as well too. Like the important concept of, I just type here, features tell, benefits sell. Right. That concept of the features is really what your offer looks like in terms of, right, of how many sessions with you or how much time with you. Those are the features. But the benefits is what really they're their desires, they're the outcomes of what they want, right? So I would see, because I work with also more senior level clients, I would talk about in terms of even clients making a 5-6 figure increases. So the ROI of the investment, the coaching is massive, like investing in like a 5K, 10K program when you can make 6 figures. That's just like a small portion of the investment there when they can make that much more. So really selling in terms of the incremental, like in terms of, I can't guarantee it, but I know just from history and my track record to say like that people have been making X amount of these money and by X amount of time in these type of roles in these type of companies. So the proof, the testimonials, the case studies is really important there. And what I have found, Danielle, especially the last several years as well, whenever I do a case study sharing on LinkedIn about a client case study, a success story, it always triggers inquiries, because someone will be like, oh, that story I can really relate to because I had that problem too, and I want that kind of result. Right.
Absolutely.
So really selling the value of it there. So that's a great question. What's another question here that's in the chat? I think, was there another one?
There were some really good ones. So let's pick a couple more.
Yeah. Oh, someone asked. Okay, here. Let me see here. Did either of you transition to full-time career coaching while working your full-time role? The first part of scaling is moving away from corporate and having your consistent career coaching business. Oh, great question.
You want me to go? Or you want to go first?
I can go for this one. This is interesting. So I started my business 2011, right after I got laid off. I knew I was going to start my business, but because of the layoff, it just expedited things. And interestingly, when I started my business, within that month, I got a full-time offer with Google to recruit for them in Canada as their first and only recruiter. And I was like, oh, I just started my business. Doesn't make sense to take this full-time job. And interestingly, it was a 1-year contract. So I was like, okay, it's a 1-year contract. This is like a good experiment for me to do my business while being in this role full-time. And what was so interesting, while I had this business and this full-time role at Google, it was actually the lead gen, because it gave me credibility working at Google, right? Because I was speaking and I was like Google recruiter. And that, little did I know, was the launch pad in growing my business, because what I learned was how to differentiate as top talent, the top 1%. So that became my signature talk, which then became my methodology of model of how I taught my clients of standing out as the top 1% in the market to get hired into top companies. So I did work full-time the first year while starting my business. And then after that 1 year contract ended up, I was all in full-time. And this is a really something for to think about, right? Because I actually right now have clients who are similar in that transition there. I mean, you have to evaluate where you are in your stage of your life, meaning how big of a risk can you take? Like if you have a mortgage to pay or if you have kids and all that, all the payments there, you got to figure out, is it feasible to go full-time or not? Or is what we call that transition model that you have, that give yourself a timeline, 6 months or 1 year, to test things out, to see whether you can get predictable leads and sales there.
And I would just say my experience, right? I didn't do it. And if I can go back in time, I kind of think I would have. I think I would have built my business and then left once my business overcame my income. I say now half of our business coaching clients for career coaches are working full time and are making that transition. And to me, I tell them, don't quit your full-time job until you have done 2 quarters, not just 1 month or you got lucky, at minimum of 3 to 6 months where your business has done, if you set a goal of 6 figures, has done over $8,333. And I would rather you hire a VA to help you run the business full time, which a VA will cost you full time less than $1,500, and reinvest some of the earning that you're making in your career coaching business into a VA before you make that big jump. Because I can tell you that my first 3 years as a career coach full time, I wasn't making a lot of money. I went through my savings, my 401k, and it led to a lot of anxiety and depression and what my wife calls it the dark ages for me. And so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
But it could be done. It's just, you can do it. You could do both of them. And I would just rather hire a good VA or maybe 2 VAs to support you.
And Daniel, I've seen this too, like fellow coaches where they've gone all in, but then felt like it's not as sustainable and went in to get a job as well, like either a temporary, a contract job, a full-time job in the meantime, while building their thing. And that's totally okay, right? It doesn't mean it's a failure or anything. Like it is hard, I would say, to build like leads. But one thing I would say for those who are even either looking to start or considering it, I would double down building your brand on LinkedIn, building your network on LinkedIn, right? Build those relationships, right? Put yourself out there in terms of increasing that visibility, the credibility, the markability. And that's going to help you essentially when you decide to launch or go all in. You're going to also essentially have these leads coming in or inquiries coming in. Like I've seen this at a few of our coaches part of my mastermind, where before they quit, they gave themselves 3 to 6 months of really building their LinkedIn presence, growing to like 10 to 30,000 followers. And when they went all in, they already had inquiries because they've already built a credibility. Yeah. Amazing. I think there was a question, I don't know where it is, but something around collaboration. How do you determine whether it's a good fit in terms of collaborating with someone?
Okay, you found it. So for me, I think you answered this earlier, and I think you're so good at it. It's really for me, I always see everybody as a collaborator and as they support each other versus a competition. And I think it's also like strengths and weaknesses. Like I think for us, we agreed on, we have different strengths, we have different business models. And for us, there's nothing but positive that can come from working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Nothing positive. I mean, a simple way, there's a difference between like a collaboration. It could be as simple as like this, right? Going on each other's podcasts, live stream, very simple collaboration, right? To like, having a partnership where you're really referring each other businesses, setting up those affiliate agreements as well. So that it could be a win-win for all there. So this was so good. So Daniel, where can people find you? And we're going to talk about our masterclass as well, and the next steps and continue the conversation here.
Yeah, no, just LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and I also put the link to the registration for the masterclass on the chat, so you can definitely see that there, or you can also scan the QR code. But LinkedIn is the easiest way. If you enjoy this, don't be shy. Say hello to me in a DM. We'd love to get to know you. If you're a fellow career coach, just say hello, connect.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, definitely connect with Daniel. Follow him on LinkedIn, his podcast as well. Check out the LinkedIn Masterclass. I really enjoyed watching it. You'll definitely learn a lot about developing content strategy. I think that's also a great thing to learn from Daniel as well, is how he built his following to over 90,000 followers on LinkedIn. So friendly reminder before we wrap up here is we are hosting a 2-day masterclass November 7th and 8th at 12 p.m. Eastern for about an hour and a half or so, where we're going to dive deep and talk about how to develop a strong marketing strategy to generate predictable leads. And then also about how, in terms of the difference between how do you price your offers, how to decide what kind of a business model you want to have, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And we're going to really answer questions in that private Zoom call with you as well. So where we get to really chat with one another. Okay. Amazing. So make sure to sign up. If you can't find the link, you can just DM one of us, Diana or Daniel here, or you can scan this QR code. So Daniel, just to wrap up, I just want to say, I really enjoy getting to know you this past month. It's been such a blast. I'm constantly reflecting how grateful of the conversations we've been having through, our DMs right now and the voice notes that we're sending each other. I just want to say that I am so inspired and impressed by you, of your dedication and passion into really elevating the industry, but also just what you've built here in your journey of moving to the US and building this business as team. Like I'm definitely in awe, and this is why I want to really collaborate with you and partner with you. I just want to make that public acknowledgement here of just to have much respect for you.
No, Diana, I kind of like want to echo that, how much I appreciate you, and same thing, throw flowers back at you, because you're awesome, right? Like you just care. You're so knowledgeable. I mean, look how good your branding is. Like anybody watching this, it looks like it's so amazing. It looks like it's like $1 million production. And so I just really enjoyed the collaborating, and I'm really looking forward to meeting again.
Absolutely.
If it is earlier than April, or in April, and spending just 5 days in Cancun.
Yep.
With you and other career coaches. Just like I'm just super excited about 5 days, business, talking, building community, meeting so many other career coaches in person. That's what I'm looking forward to now. 2024.
It's going to be amazing, right? It's going to be exponential growth. Like that's what I see right now, like finding like-minded powerhouse group of people together. We're all going to rise together. And I've seen it firsthand already this year of building that group myself with my first cohort of business mastermind career coaches, like fellow ladies there. Like I'm just so proud of them. Like some of them like did their first ever 6-figure launches. And I'm just like, wow, I'm in awe because of having a supportive community together. And that's what I want to do. Like I want to help more coaches reach their 6-figure business, or to also cross that 7-figure mark as well. Like I think that's going to be so amazing to do it together.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're awesome.
My pleasure. All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you, everyone.
Bye.